What's up guys, Marco here. In today's video I want to talk about an important but probably kind of boring topic, which is the GDPR or General Data Protection Regulation. So you probably by now you heard about this topic in your newsfeed or wherever. It's a pretty big new data protection law that comes into effect tomorrow, so on the 25th of May 2018. And there are many businesses that tried hard to be compliant with this new law in the recent weeks and months. And of course it also applies to many of you guys when you're dropshipping or having e-commerce businesses and stuff like that. So I thought that even though it's quite late, I want to make a little video on what GDPR is, how it affects you, what you can do in order to be compliant, and just some general information about the law in case you didn't hear about it yet. So let's just get started and let's learn what you can do to be compliant.
I grew tired of that. I grew eyes on my back. They drew iron when I drew rhymes. So who's firing back? Told myself, keep your mind on them rats. Knowing damn well this shit's true.
Alright, so let's start with what's GDPR. First of all, like I said, GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. And it goes into effect May 25th, 2018. So basically tomorrow when I uploaded this video. The law is there to protect private data of European citizens. The EU has always been quite harsh with data protection for their citizens, and now this new law brings it to the next level. And basically they want to protect data of European citizens, and it's only about them. And this is basically what you need to know is one of the key factors of this new law. So if we have a look at whether you are involved or not, this is essentially how you determine if you have to do something about it or not. So if you do business with European customers or even visitors, they don't have to buy something. It just has to, even if just people from Europe go to your site, you need to be GDPR compliant. So this is kind of a problem because let's say you only sell to US customers, but even if just people from the EU go to your site, you need to be able to fulfill all the regulations about European visitors. So this makes it pretty much a thing for every store, because it can always happen that some people from the European Union will land on your site and interact with your website. So even though it's pretty unlikely that if just like 2 visitors from the EU go to your site every week, something will ever happen, theoretically you still need to be compliant for these people and basically apply the steps for your business as well. However, you're not involved in this whole thing if you only get traffic from the United States, Canada, Asia, or wherever. So if you really only get traffic from there, you can ignore this completely. But like I said, probably in 99% of the cases, you will somehow or at some point get visitors from the EU, and this is where you need to watch out and be compliant to the GDPR. So in order to play safe, you should be compliant to avoid any kind of trouble, to not get surprised, and make sure that you do everything according to this new law. So let's jump to the important part, which is what does GDPR mean for you? And of course I'm not a lawyer, so I just give you my perspective. If you want to learn more about the topic, I recommend that you do some quick Google search now to be as compliant as possible, basically. And I also put some links into the description, like how to create a good privacy policy and all these things in order to help you guys. So what does it mean for you? Well, first of all, you have to create a new privacy policy. So if you have been using a privacy policy so far, which I definitely recommend, you now have to create a new one because there are new things that have to be added. For example, you have to tell people how they can disable your website from placing or getting cookies. So you need to tell them how they can disable cookies in their browsers for your website. This is one out of many things that need to be included in the new privacy policy. I also linked a privacy policy generator for GDPR in the description, at least the one that I use, or one of the ones that I use, because I use 2 different ones. This should be good, and this is of course probably the easiest thing that you need to do in order to be compliant. So you just have to exchange the text, and then you're fine in this point. However, another important thing is that you need to get specific consent whenever you use customer data for marketing. So you probably know it when people buy something from your store. Some people have this default checkboxes saying something like, yes, I want to get marketing material, I want to get a newsletter. And this box is ticked by default. Now this is something that is not allowed under GDPR anymore. So you cannot sell something to people and basically have a ticked checkbox that is on by default, because they need to give specific and explicit consent. And explicit consent is not a default box, it has to be ticked by the customer himself. So you need to make sure that all checkboxes are unticked if you use checkboxes in the first place. And of course, you also need unsubscribe buttons in your email. So whenever you are sending an email, you need to make sure that there are unsubscribe buttons. Actually, this was a law anyway, but now, of course, it is even more important that you really put very close attention to these things. But let's quickly go back to the specific consent whenever you are use customer data. Also, it also affects some stuff like newsletters. So people don't have to buy something from you. Even if you offer something like a newsletter or a coupon code, the way many people had it so far was like, give us your email address and you will get a 10% discount, right? Of course, it wasn't the only thing that you had in mind when getting the email that you will send them this discount. And this is basically the problem of the whole thing. Because if you were only about to give them this discount and nothing else, it would be all fine. But most likely you're capturing this email address in order to send them stuff later on, like new products, or hey, if you forgot checking out, or hey, check this again. So as long as you do not use their email for this one specific action only, in this case the discount or a free checklist or whatever, you need to tell them that you are going to use their email address for future stuff as well. So basically you need to tell them, like I said, you have to reformulate the whole thing. And the way I do it, and I talked to a lawyer and some people, and they told me that this would be okay, is that you say something like, hey there, get our newest product updates and newsletters or newsletter and get a free 10% discount as a gift. So this is basically putting the discount behind the actual newsletter, but it's still there. So people still probably sign up because of the discount, but they are aware that you are sending them promotional emails and marketing stuff. So you need to basically rephrase the way the call to action for your email sign up. And this is how you can basically be compliant and get specific consent, because you are telling people upfront what they can expect from you, and that you will send them marketing messages and not just this one single thing. Also, a double opt-in is recommended, so people should should have to confirm their email address by clicking a confirmation link. From what I understood, and again, I'm not an expert here, but from what I understood, it's not absolutely necessary to have double opt-in, but it's definitely easier, because one regulation also says that you need to be able to show records of when people signed up to your email list and when they gave you consent and all these things. So double opt-in is recommended. Like I said, you don't have to use it, I think, but since it's recommended, I would just do it as well, and this makes it definitely easier for you. One other thing is that you need to be able to show customers which data you have about them. So let's assume some customer goes and sends you an email, hey, I want to know which data you have about me and which data you store, what you do with it, and so on and so forth. Within 1 month, you have to send them a reply and say, for example, hey there, we have your email address here, we have your shipping address, we have some information like your credit card on file, at least a few numbers that you can always see, something like that. You basically have to send them everything that you know about this customer and what you will do with their data. But this is not only true for customers. Again, here also for leads. If someone sends you an email, you have to say, hey, this is your name, this is your email address, this is what I know about you, and I use your data in order to send you, for example, promotional emails in the future. So if for small businesses, this should be relatively easy to do. If you just have a couple of hundred or 1,000 customers, you should be able, especially with Shopify, to look into it and say, this is your data, here it is, and it's done. So this shouldn't be a very big deal. But I think the most important changes are, first of all, of course, the entirely replaced privacy policy, the consent, and with email marketing and everything related to it, and the way you actually get leads and the way you actually work with them. So there are more changes, of course. Like I said, I recommend that you check it out, but I wanted to make in my opinion, or from what I understood, the most important points and bring them here on this slide. So as a last thing here, some general notes, because I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and there's also a lot of misinformation. And first of all, I put some links in the description, like I said, for example, for the privacy policy thing and some more stuff, so that you can go ahead and learn more about the topic in order to be compliant. The second thing is that the GDPR is especially meant to, make it easier to or better protect European citizens against enterprises or from enterprises. So for you, it's just limited work. For a small business with just a few sales or just a couple of hundred website visitors a week or something, this isn't a very, very big thing. So don't panic and think that now you have to spend the next 2 months just working on GDPR or something. It is meant especially for enterprises who have like hundreds or even thousands of employees working on this topic only. And for them, it's a very, very big deal, and they've been working on it for months and months and months. But for you, it's most likely just, one day or one afternoon of work or something like that. Pretty quick things. So this is my final point. Don't panic, because huge fines are also typically a myth. There are a lot of people who claim that if you are not compliant by tomorrow, you will face huge fines immediately, right? So let's say now we have the 25th, you are not 100% compliant and you get a $5,000 fee from someone because you forgot to put your privacy policy somewhere. You missed one little link, or probably you have one little checkbox too much or too less or something. From what I understood, and again, I talked to a lawyer as well, this is a pure myth. So even if you are not 100% compliant by tomorrow, this shouldn't be a problem, and the chance that you will get into any trouble is super, super, super low. Even if you're not compliant in like a week and someone goes to your site and says, hey, I want to learn something about my data and you cannot do this, or they say that you are not compliant because you missed your privacy policy or there's some mistake in it. First of all, they have to escalate it to the European government or whatever department deals with that. So this is the first step. They would have to first talk with you, then they can escalate it, and normally the way they react is just by sending you notice, like, hey, we noticed that someone is doing this and that, so please make these changes or please check it again. What we learned is that it is very, very, very rare that you will face any kind of fine, especially in the beginning, because even though the 25th is the deadline, we were told that from many different sources that it is more like from now on you should put your effort truly behind it. So the regulators know that many businesses will not be compliant at this point, and they really calculate it as well. So if you are doing any kind of work regarding GDPR, if you learn about it, if you research about it, if you put in your new privacy policy and these things, this is already a great step in the right direction. And if something happens, you can always say, well, I was going into that direction already. I have this is still missing. I couldn't do it so far. So this is the key here. Don't panic. Don't expect and don't think that you need to be 100% compliant on everything the first day. Of course, the earlier the better, and if you can do it until tomorrow, this would be great. But in general, it won't be a problem, and as long as you really put in the work to do that, and as long as you research what you need to do and these things, and then you implement it at some point, this will all be fine. So this is basically the summary of this video. Do everything you can as quickly as possible, but don't panic if you cannot do it until tomorrow or if something goes wrong or whatever, and you should be all fine. So the GDPR is some kind of change for many businesses, but it's definitely not a super great fundamental thing, at least for small businesses. So guys, I hope that you learned something in this video. I hope that you now know what GDPR is and what you need to do. Like I said, check the description for some links. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment if you have any questions about GDPR, and of course subscribe to this channel if you like this video and if you want to see more e-commerce dropshipping related stuff. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that I helped you with this video. Bye bye.